Hey, someone told me the recording started. Do you know that?
Oh, start them young. Start them young. Welcome, one and all, and particularly welcome to Justin here. New new blood. I wouldn't say fresh meat because by the looks of it, you're going to be filling in a very particular um, role on the team. So gonna make sure to be extra nice to you to make sure that nobody else kind of dies. So welcome to the group. Welcome to the Witch Hunter Wars. Hello. So it's kind of customary. We kind of start the everyone's kind of negative one shot. Just ask a couple questions. I actually had to go back and re-listen to season one because I'm an idiot and did not actually write down what the questions were, so I had to go back and find them. So I have them here now. So how long have you been playing D&D?
Playing is kind of a vague question. I have dabbled in a couple of missions that we started up on a game beginning of the new year with another group while we were kind of in our lull and got about 2 weeks in and he decided to pull the rug on everybody and kick us out. So, but I'm an avid listener and if last, what is it, March now? So last 6, 7 months, I've listened to probably 400 episodes of D&D campaigns.
Which is impressive.
I have a fair understanding of it. It's actual gameplay that I'm green in.
Mm. Yeah, I know, and I'm really glad that the like a first experience didn't kind of leave a sour taste in your mouth because I know having like bad first experiences at tables can kind of really ruin it, or ruin wanting to get into it. Um, Definitely have been there of having some not great not great experiences at the table where we'll just like end out of nowhere, or people picking favorites and stuff like that. So it's it's always good when you hear people like, yeah, I had a bad experience, but willing to give it another go. So it's always really glad to hear.
Should be fun.
Yeah. Let me the next question here. Um, so it kind of works well with the fact that you've listened to so much, um, like D&D podcasts and stuff like that. What's your favorite part about D&D, or what do you think will be your favorite part about D&D?
The unknown. Just, I love having a storyline that you have a general idea and a history, but that history can go so many ways to a point. So there's no set path, and you can kind of make the best of it or make it what you want, per se.
Mm-hmm.
And I love being able to have that freedom to create that.
Yeah, I think you're gonna fit in great here. Definitely, this definitely like our focus is a lot of you know it's always all about the story first, right? Want to make sure
Yes.
people have fun and want to tell a nice fun, even if it's going to be emotional part of the game. And the last question that I have here kind of segues good from the favorite part. And what are your kind of expectations and hope for this game, for like playing this campaign?
Honestly, adventure.
Adventure, that's good.
Adventure. I'm I've gotten huge into reading a lot lately too, between listening to D&D podcasts and reading. It's all nothing but adventure and story for me. Like it's I take so much out of it.
Mm. Are you like a fantasy reader? Do you read
Yeah, I last year I'm a big Tolkien fan.
the
So
same?
I've read Lord of the Rings, Hobbit. I'm slowly I can't read Silmarillion. I'm gonna listen to that one as an audiobook because
It's hard.
it's such an in-depth history with some very monotonous dialogue at
Y-
points where I just need somebody to read it to me and me just absorb it instead of trying to read it because I fell asleep reading it at least a dozen times.
I I I tried to read it a little while ago and just didn't have enough time, and I got like 60 pages in, and it I kept saying, I'm like, it's like reading sandpaper.
Mhm.
It is dry, and because what it originally was, it was literally just like Tolkien's notes, and then he kind of took it and gave it a little bit of structure. It's not like,
Yeah, no, it's literally the history of the starting of the age,
yeah,
and it's all just laid out there. And yeah, it's sandpaper is very, very descriptive and very accurate.
yeah. I've actually had like a project going on because like kind of set within the world that we play in much later on. Um, I have the books that I'm writing, both like the D&D supplemental books and my actual like novel writing. And one of my projects was I wanted to read particular books from particular authors to kind of get a sense of how they tell their fantasy. And like I wanted to look at the greats. So I read Fellowship. I read um, I read The Stand, which was not my favorite. Um, I mean, I read it and I liked most of it. Um, but read The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. Always, always going to recommend Color of Magic. There's no chapters in it, so it makes it kind of hard to like put a bookmark in because if you're anything like me, I can't stop in the middle of a sentence, even if it's like the start of a page,
I'm OCD where I have to finish the chapter.
right? Yeah, and that's hard with The Color of Magic because like you're gonna have to read, um, you have to basically read the entire like first book, or like the first like section of it, so like 60 pages. Um, Dragonlance, which was like my first foray into fantasy and then Dungeons and Dragons, without even knowing it was Dungeons and Dragons for about 10 years. Um, Brandon Sanderson, The Way of Kings, 100% recommend if you're looking to get into like fantasy. He's the guy right now. Read a little bit of Robert Jordan, Wheel of Time.
Time I did read the first book and I started the second one.
Yeah, I didn't have access. I only had access to uh certain ones when I was like buckled down to like read. So I started reading book. I read book four, which is what the next season of the show is actually based on. So that's pretty cool. But then I read book 10 and definitely kind of see how like Jordan had his own writing style. Um, and I don't think I'm gonna offend anybody by saying book 10 was just like a waste of time. It's a waste of time. It was not. It was not as good as book four. Book four had a lot of stuff that happened, and book 10 was a lot of people talking about stuff that had already happened and stuff that might happen. Not actually doing anything, but just talking about stuff that had happened. It was like cool. It's a flashback book.
Yeah, I was working part time a couple years ago, with a construction company, just helping build some stuff. And he just let me do my thing, told me what to do and where to go, and I just listened to audiobook while I was there.
Hmm.
And the audiobook I listened to was called Rise of the Dragons,
Hmm.
Kings and Sorcerers. That got me really into kind of rolling down that path because I had always kind of read Tolkien and it was always in my household.
Hmm.
So I always picked it up, but it started me into branching out and getting more different books and, picking up different storylines.
Yeah, I like for me, The Hobbit was my first like book, like first novel that I ever read. I was like in the fourth grade, and
Yeah, fourth grade, I was reading Goosebumps.
I
But
mean,
I did have The Hobbit, but I was reading Goosebumps.
and no shade to Goosebumps. Goosebumps, mass respect to Goosebumps and Animorphs.
Mm.
That was my thing. I was reading Animorphs, but yeah, when I was in like the fourth grade, it was like when Fellowship first came out, and I couldn't get into reading Fellowship or Two Towers. Especially couldn't get into reading Two Towers.
Two Towers is kind of,
It's a bad place to start.
yeah, it's setting the stage
Yeah,
with so much story going on and happening at the exact same time.
yeah, it's not a great place to start. And it was specifically I had watched the first movie, and then my stepdad said, "Why don't you read the second book before the second movie comes out?" So
Mm.
I sat down and started reading the book, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on.
Well, see, he took it based on timeline
Mhm.
and actually took some of the stuff from the Two Towers and put it in the Return of the King and vice versa
Uh-huh.
because the events were happening at the same time and chronologically, but they were in different places in the books, so you had to kind of manipulate it so it flowed.
Yeah, yeah. It yeah, it was a time. But as much as I would love to continue talking about Tolkien, we
We got all
do.
kinds of time for that at a different point.
That's what breaking characters for. That's where we can talk about books. So we'll leave a buffer of time here, and that's where we'll put the theme song. Let's jump into the game here. Let's play for a good half hour, 45 minutes, hour, something like that. All right, so we're gonna start. Your character is a dwarf. I'll have you describe your character in a minute. I'm just gonna kind of set the scene. So you're in a convoy, and you're heading north, due north. It's a couple of dwarves, a couple of they're called Joulics, but basically like Goliaths, kind of half giants almost. And you've got some really, really big carts. Like these carts are huge. Pulled by aurochs, which are like really old, really large oxen. They're big enough that they're essentially like medieval RVs, but like the nice RVs. Like you got a full house in there. And yeah, you're going north. The tree line is starting to kind of peter out, and there's a lot of snow on the ground. So we're gonna go to the front of one of these caravans, kind of about in the middle, where your character is gonna be. You're not steering the horse, but you're like sitting next to the person who is. You just want to go ahead and describe what your character looks like.
Well, sitting beside the driver of the carts, you'll find a rather aged soldier. He's probably 55 years old, 4'8", brown hair, blue eyes, and a hefty weight of 320 pounds. Not all fat. There's a good amount of muscle in there.
Short and stout.
And short and stout, yeah. doing his tribe proud. Yeah. So that's pretty much him in a nutshell. Big, clunky dwarf soldier.
Big braided beard.
Big braided beard, long hair, braided, multiple, big helm probably sitting beside him.
Very nice, very nice. So yeah, so you've been traveling for, honestly, at this point it's probably been about a year. You've gotten used to hunting on the road, cooking on the road, living on the road. Pretty much been constantly moving, and you've been going pretty much due north almost the entire time. And on the horizon, you start to see something you haven't seen in probably 6 months, give or take. And you see like water, like, and it doesn't look like it's small. It looks like land ends probably a few, like it's nice and flat. It's like in the prairies. You can, your dog can run away, and you can watch them run away for 3 weeks. It's all like a white tundra covered in snow, and at the edge of the horizon you just see blue. And roll me in nature.
16.
You're knowledgeable enough to know that blue far off, probably some kind of water. You kind of get excited.
North.
Yeah. So you figure, if you're 16, I would say you figure you should be reaching the like top end of the continent that you're on. You're pretty close to getting as far as any other adventuring party has ever gone before. It's like the edge of the map. It does not seem like anyone's slowing down, or like anyone's going to slow down for any particular, like you are still supplied and stocked up for at least another 6 months of riding.
Yeah.
So as it starts to get darker, the caravans do their, circle, and there's a nice big bonfire, as there is every night, and everybody's just kind of talking to each other, cooking, eating. The chief of both of the tribes, the dwarven tribe and the giant tribe that's traveling with you, they've got their caravan tents, probably the largest of everyone's. They're in there. They're like, their doors always open. What would you like to do this evening?
I'd like to go talk to the dwarven tribe chief.
Okay. So you go in, and so they share their caravan, and it's kind of comical because like the dwarven chieftain's door is closer to the ground, and it's like probably like maybe 6 feet, and like the giant one is like probably 10 feet, and it's looks like it's forced perspective, right? So you kind of walk through. It's the doors open. There's a curtain to keep the cold from coming in, even though the door's open. And there's a small fire inside. The chieftain there. He looks a little bit older than you, but otherwise looks pretty similar. He would probably have gray to white hair. And behind him is a dwarven flag and it's not a bust, but it's like a weapon holder, and has a hammer and a battle axe crossed in front of it. As you walk in, he looks up. He's like, "What can I do, you, my son?"
I see we've reached or are coming near the top of our continent. Is our journey to our destination closing?
Far from it, I fear.
With no more land to head north, where's our next destination? What's our quest?
Well, I figure someone would ask that question eventually. Legends tell of a wondrous land far to the north, far past anyone's maps. Across this water is and please don't spread this to the common folk until we get to the water. I don't want to get want any hysteria. I don't want anybody to start thinking that we're following pipe dreams or anything like that, because there has been proof that there is land up there, but it's sad that this land is so expertly crafted that there are mountains that pierce the clouds and are so high that you can get halfway up, go outside, and you are in the clouds that the giants would call home. It's a wonderful place for dwarves and a wonderful place for giants, and also untold riches, not just in natural resources, but ancient civilizations that have been before us. I hope you don't think me mad or foolhardy, but I feel if we can make a settlement there, a couple months, maybe 3 or so months until we get there, but I think we can make a good life for ourselves.
No, I don't see you as foolhardy or following pipe dreams, but I have to ask, how come you by this knowledge?
Well, the other chieftain, my compatriot, and he's kind of like points to like the wall, because like they share a wall. His many moons ago, actually quite a while before we started our journey, a roving band of half giants came to him with a map and with stories, saying how they had, during a particularly cold winter, had crossed a bridge of ice and had found this on like a land that has been untouched by time, but they had to cross back before the bridge thawed and they were trapped. And I felt that if we we were able to set up a shipping lane from, or even just a ferry or some kind of boat where we're able to get between the mainland and the land across, I think we would be well suited for this particular climate.
So will our goal to be find passage across the water to find this land? Or will we be building our own fleet?
That is a good question. With the trees thinning out here, well, I would ask your opinion on this. How should we cross? Should there not be a land bridge? Now, my cartographers, my sages have said that there should be a winter storm coming in the next couple of months that should adequately freeze the water we see before us. But I think it would be a fair idea to possibly come up with a contingency in case that doesn't happen. What would you suggest? How would you suggest that we cross these? It would be about a 2 or 3 week voyage. How we could cross this area? What would be your suggestion? Should we dismantle our caravan? Should we haul some lumber? Should we tunnel underground? Should we swim?
Us dwarves, we swim like rocks. We go straight to the bottom every time. So I don't suggest that. But honestly, I don't know if we'd have enough timber to be able to journey everyone in our party across, even with the thinning trees and our carriages. I think the amount of vessels we'd be able to create would be minimal, given our party size. We could send out a search party if we were able to create the first primary vessel, and then continue to try and establish dominance on the coast and see if we can scavenge together the materials needed to create more while the party is making the initial journey. And if a land bridge was to form with this forecasted storm, then we would possibly have a ship already to the other side, and then the land bridge that the remaining party could journey across. I'm not sure if that would work, but it's an idea.
I think that's a wondrous idea. In fact, I think it's such a wondrous idea that I can't think of anyone better suited to oversee this than you. I will. What I'll do is I'll get a group of builders to start making a dwarven ship, small but hardy, that can take a small group from our coast to the northern coast, and then possibly start the return back should the forecast not come to pass or whatnot. And what we can do is we can have an advanced search party that can go and start making settlement, so that by the time that we get there, we don't have a mess of people and nowhere to stay. Would you be willing to lead such a party?
I believe I could take on that task, provided I have a very well-created flotation device for me. I'm not fond of the water.
Understandable. Very understandable. I'm sure we can make something for you. So, with that, you see, he starts writing something and he passes you it. He's like, this is your formal promotion to commander. We'll give you, or sorry, not commander, commandant, I think would be the proper naval term. I'm not sure.
I believe so.
Yeah. It essentially gives you control of the ship, yada yada. You don't have to worry about building the ship. The builders will make it for you. But it does allow you to name it, and you can pick your own crew. He says the crew should be about 20 people, and then the advanced party should be about another 20 or so. So he writes all this out, and he passes the script over to you. There's a couple of lines that have like X's for you to sign. So he just kind of slides it across the table for you.
Take it, review it, and start thinking of who I will get to join this voyage. And on the spots that I need to sign, I take a little bite out of the end of my finger, just enough to let some blood drip on the spots. And then I go back out to the bonfire to ponder a name for the vessel.
Right. So as like you cut your finger and right up there, you see he's grinning. He's like, a practitioner of the old ways. I respect that. So you've got the paperwork there. You go out to the bonfire. Like I said, it's kind of like a nightly occurrence. What would you like to do around the fire? There's food, there's music. Most of your buddies are around. There's a good like 300 or 400 people, at least in this section of the camp. It's pretty large.
Karak will go back out to the bonfire, finding a very relaxing spot. On his way there, he grabs a pint of ale, just one, and he'll find a spot that has a view of everybody. He's been around for so long that his youthful exuberance and wastefulness of time has just taught him to just take it all in. And as he sits there and watches, he ponders and he thinks about when he was young and journeying and how much fun it was to just take it in at night. But he never did. He was always too busy to just take it in. So now in his senior years, it's something for him to enjoy and absorb.
Yeah, so you have your ale and you find like they have like benches that are pretty much just like half logs that have been like cut in half, right? And then they have legs. And you find one that is fairly worn. It's kind of further away, and you're just kind of like sitting there, relaxing, nursing your ale as you watch the younger people go to and fro. There's children running around in their parkas, and some people are sparring, some people are working and chopping wood, and you spent a lot of time. Some would say too much time dealing with having to go to wars, protect borders, keep the peace. And even times like this where you should be relaxing, you're relaxed, but you're very much waiting for your next kind of mission. You're waiting for what's next. It's always what's next, what's next, what's next. After a while, you get to the bottom of your ale. The night is dark, and the fire is starting to burn down. You think it might be a time to retire. Is there anything you'd like to do before you go back to your caravan?
Before heading back to my caravan, I just do my standard nightly walk around, make sure everything around the perimeter is good. I'm assuming there's those who are standing on guard around the perimeter, keeping an eye out, just do my check-in, and then after a long day, head back and call it a night.
Yeah, usually, so you do a perimeter. There's like a couple of like guards, and they all kind of like give you the a little bit of a salute. You've definitely done your time of doing that before. You're kind of like above doing that now, especially now that you've been given the charge of the ship. You're like an officer now, and everyone kind of knows and very much respects you. Even before you got that promotion, everybody knew and respects you because of your prowess. So you go back into your modest caravan and you sleep. Over the next 2 or 3 weeks, you start compiling names. A couple people who you know will be good for sailing the ship. A couple people you know will be good for exploration. After about 2 weeks, you arrive. After about 3 weeks, you arrive at the coast. The ship has been being built basically every night when you guys stop. These people who are not actively working while you're traveling will work while you're stopped and building the boat, but it's still going to take one extra 2 weeks. And by the time that the modest ship is built, you've compiled a good balanced group of sailors, warriors, scientists, wizards. You've got a good mix of people to go with you. So you reach the coast, and there is no storm. It's been clear, like a clear blue sky for the past 3 weeks. There has not been a speck of weather at all, and you are now at the coast with a boat in the water. What should you do?
At the coast, we have probably 4 to 5 months supplies left. We've got a sturdy ship built, crew that's been picked out. I'd say we send out our party in search and we'll try not to, and hope that on our journey there is a storm that comes near the end and can create the land bridge, and if not, then we have the ability to return to pick up the remainders we had left on the northern coast.
For sure. So you figure there's about 50 of you on the ship right now. You imagine you could probably fit another 25 on there comfortably. So it would take a couple of trips back and forth should the land bridge not happen. But you definitely have everything ready for you. You've got everything prepared for worst case scenario. So you're going to start heading across the water there?
Yes, before we push off, I will go to both the giant chief and the dwarf chief and ask if I could have the maps that the giant chief had been blessed with by the half giants that were roving and told him the tales of this land.
I believe so. So he passes you the he passes you the maps. They seem to be annotated as well, so they have like markings of where to go. So it looks like not far from where you should land, there should be a couple of entrances to what look like caverns, and after a while of traveling underground, you come to these mighty, very large mountains, and there's a couple of like weird markers on there, and he tells you that these markers are ancient temples. So they they give you that, but they also give you a bottle of wine to christen the ship, if you want to give it a name.
I will take the bottle of wine down towards the ship and turn and look at everybody in our traveling party and take the bottle and smash it up against the hull and name the ship Barthoon, named for thunder.
Nice. So you christen it. You get everybody on board. You pull the anchor, and it takes a little while, but you start moving towards the other coast. You're about 3 or 4 days in when the weather starts to shift. Um, it does seem to start getting colder. There seems to be a lot of snow, and you're hoping that this means it will lead to the land bridge, the ice floe that you're looking for. Can you roll me a survival check?
16, 12 plus 4.
So you're able to keep everything in order. You're able to make it to the other side without any issues, but everything's starting to like freeze behind you, which you are thinking should be good, because that means you'll the land bridge will be able to form behind you. You can't. You're far enough that you can't see the people on the other coast, but you're hoping that this creates a land bridge strong enough for them to cross over. But you are here. You're able to get off the ship. The water has frozen around it, so it's not going anywhere. What would you like to do?
So the ship's already been frozen around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so now that we've established our journey and made landfall, I reference the maps that were given and seek out to try and find the tunnels or the caverns that were referenced to seek shelter from the impending storm that's freezing us in.
So from your map, you figure it's far enough in that it wouldn't get flooded. It wouldn't get flooded. So it's a good couple of miles in, but after a couple hours of rough traveling, you do see what looks like you meet. You're at the part of the map where the cavern should be. There doesn't seem to be a cavern there, but there does look like there's an indent, like a dip in the snow.
Okay, looking around, are there any mountains that we can see on the horizon, or is the storm affecting our vision?
Give me a perception check.
That would be a 19, 15 plus 4.
So even with the weather being how it is right now, you are able to see in the very far distance what looks like a very massive range of mountains. It's just at the farthest end of your perception. It's got to be a good 2 or 3 weeks away, but you do see mountains.
What kind of tools were boarded onto the ship for our journey? Like, do we have shovels and
Yeah,
pickaxes?
you would have shovels, pickaxes. You'd have icebreakers. You'd have um, pretty much anything you'd need. You'd even have like sleds and stuff brought with you that have supplies and stuff put on them.
Well, given the map and the relative area that we're in and believing that we're in the right area, I kind of set up a base camp and set up a crew to do shift work at excavating this indent in the ground to see if it'll lead to the cavern.
Okay. So they do start shoveling, and they do after after a couple hours, it does seem that they are able to. They find like the top kind of border of a cavern. They figure they're gonna have to shovel and break ice for a while in order to actually like kind of get there. But
Okay.
it is getting cold. The storm is starting to pick up, and give me an insight.
20, 19 plus 1,
That would be a dirty 20.
dirty 20.
So yeah, you realize after a while that with the weather changing and with everybody working, they seem to be getting very tired. Like they are getting extremely tired. After about 5 or 6 hours, they're able to break through enough of the ice and snow in front of the cavern so that there's like a hole at like the top of the um, entrance that you guys can kind of just slide slide into. They all kind of like stop, and they're kind of laying there exhausted as snow's like whipping around. They look at you and it's like, who who should be going first?
I will go down first and examine the cavern to see if all is well. I will signal if it's good for everyone to come down. We will need to leave a marker above ground in case the hole we have dug fills with snow from the storm.
They all kind of nod and they're like, "I we'll set up camp here and we'll work on getting the markers set up after we have a little rest, if that's okay."
Yes, you've worked very hard. I will take one of our two of our warriors with us, or with me, down to the cavern, and we will report back, get some food, get some ale, and take a break.
They all kind of nod their head and give you a salute, and two of the warriors who had very recently just been using like the pickaxes form up behind you and are ready to go into the cavern. You gotta slide in.
Go down the hole that's been dug and enter through the hole that they've created into the cavern.
All right, so you're able to slide in. It's a little bit of a tight fit. Sorry, not fix. But as you slide in, it is quite literally like you are on your ass sliding down like you would on like a crazy carpet or something. And you slide down to the bottom, and there's a lot of snow in the cavern, but after a little bit of walking, it starts to kind of peter out, and you can hear the wind is very loud in this like area. It's echoing quite a bit. So now it is you and two of your warriors. Would you like
We're
to?
in. We start to examine the cavern. It was said that the cavern went lengthwise and then opened up inside the mountain, right?
Yep. So you are able to. It's a kind of snake. Like you start walking, and you're walking for a good couple of hours before you need to like take a rest. But you it kind of snakes and it kind of turns and bends. And after a what you imagine has to be a couple of hours, it eventually does open up. It doesn't open up to what you would expect to be a the mountain in particular, but it does seem like it opens up into like a more of like a ruins. And it looks like some of this area has been worked, and it might have been an outpost at one point.
It's ruins and an outpost. Do I see any sign of signage or language that I can determine what kind of civilization this might have been for the ruins?
Roll me an investigation.
Investigation. That is an 11.
So there's you see a couple pieces of like hieroglyphics, some writing and stuff, but you can't really place it. You've never seen anything like it before. Um, but otherwise, you don't really know kind of who might have been here, what they might have looked like, or anything like that.
Uh, do you recognize what kind of buildings they were? Is there any sign of like uh, if there was beds or
It look,
um,
yeah, it looks like
we haven't come across the temples, right? It's this is just ruins
mhm.
before. Okay,
Yeah. This definitely looks like. Roll me a history check.
that would be a 22.
Very nice. So you look around and you can tell that this looks like it might have been some kind of like mining outpost. You see that there's a couple of like they're not quite boarded up, but looks like they're like fenced off tunnels around.
Okay,
So you can kind of tell that like looks like the cavern might have been one tunnel, but looks like they were in the process of making more. But otherwise, you don't see any other signs of life. Or there are bed frames, but it looks like any bed is like a frozen block at this point.
okay, and the weather conditions now that we've reached that kind of ruin staging area for the mining operation. What are the weather conditions inside there now that we're far away?
So you're not sure because you're underground.
No, I mean like in the tunnel, like
Oh, in the
everything's
tunnel?
yeah, like where we're at in the ruins, like the weather in the ruins is like calm. Like
Yeah,
we're underground, so I'm assuming there's very minimal wind because we're away from the entrance now.
yeah. You're kind of looking around. You see like a lot of like ice. It's been very cold, but it doesn't look like anything's moved. So it doesn't seem like there's much wind or any new water, any kind of heat or anything like that. It's just very still.
Okay,
Um, yeah,
but it is cold in there, but we're out of the elements, so
yeah. It is.
um,
It's not like a wind chill. It's just like a natural cold.
yeah, just a natural frozen deep
Yeah,
cold. And then you said there's one tunnel that's got like boards across the end, like
yeah.
maybe used to put mining carts down there, but they stopped the rail kind of deal.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And that was the only other exit out of there other than the entrance we came through.
Nope. So this area opens up, and there's like a couple of tunnels that you see have like they're like stubby, like they're small, and then further down there seems to be like an incline up, and it looks like there's steps that are built into the incline up, and then there's a very large tunnel that seems a lot darker but it seems to go further. So you'd have to have some sort of way to see in the dark if you wanted to go forward. Do you have dark
I,
vision?
I do have dark
You have
vision,
dark vision. Okay.
so I would be able to see. I don't know about my warrior companion.
Yeah. So if we'll say they're both dwarves, so they both would have
Yeah,
um, dark
dark vision.
vision. So just because I know it can be a little bit like a point of contention with like some groups. Dark vision basically is like when you're looking through night vision goggles. You're basically you can see, but everything's in like shades of gray.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just rough outlines.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah.
It's not like you can see as regular. You can see things, but it's like Blair Witch basically. He just one of the warriors comes up to you. He's just like, I'm so scared right now.
You haven't been serving long enough. This is nothing. We're trained for this.
I just look so dark and silent, and those two things together just seem very foreboding.
Yes. But we will fix that. We're not we're not going to journey down this tunnel quite yet. We're going to head back and inform the rest of our party of the safety down here out of the weather and establish a new home for the time being in the area of these old ruins.
Okay.
And we will create a plan of attack for journeying down this upcoming tunnel and exploring more.
Okay. So you're gonna start heading back, eh?
We are going to head back to the cavern entrance that was dug and spend the next little bit getting the party down safely into the cavern and then establishing a home base and setting up a shift for having somebody on watch by the hole for our crew that will be coming behind us.
Okay. So you get up to where you came in, and you climb your way up. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass. Easier to get down than it is to get up. But as you get out, you see that they basically have like put a tent over the top of the entrance just so that it wouldn't like fill back in.
Trained them
Um,
well.
and they have a couple of tents, kind of like their personal tents, kind of spread around it. But as you look around, it's very silent. It's you brought about 20 people with you, and it should be a lot. Like there should be noise. You don't even hear the crackling of a fire. Can you give me a perception check or an investigation, whichever is higher?
Perception. Ooh, that's a 6. 2 plus 4.
So you're looking around for a good half hour, and you don't see anyone. There doesn't seem to be anyone there. You see the boat is still kind of on the horizon, but it's very odd that there's no one here. And it doesn't seem to be.
Are the supplies still there?
The supplies are still there, and it looks like they've been untouched since everything was put up. It looks like everything's been untouched.
Do I see any signs of uh, unknown uh, disturbances, like uh,
Roll,
foreign footprints?
roll a survival.
That will be a 21, 17 plus 4.
So you look around and you see footprints not dissimilar from yours, and it just looks like they all stop. Like you can tell that these are your companions' footsteps. or footfalls, I guess. But it's almost like they just vanished. Like they just stopped. There doesn't seem to be anybody, like any other footprints or trails or anything. But you're starting to think it might not be safe to be outside.
Get the other two warriors to help me get as many supplies as we can get and shove them down the hole.
Okay. Thankfully, all your supplies were on sleds. So it just takes a little bit, and you're able to push the sleds down.
Tobogging down the hole right into the cavern.
Essentially, yeah. So you're able to do that without any issue, and you're able to pull it back to where you had kind of planned to set up your camp there. It is still eerily quiet, and it seems to be getting darker as well.
In any of the supplies, were there any tinder and supplies for starting like a small fire, like small bonfire to keep ourselves warm
Yep.
and get some rest?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's plenty.
Okay. So that's what I do is we get our supplies and put them into one spot, and then we just set up a fire to get ourselves warm and refeed and get a good rest before we journey out to venture down the unknown tunnel.
Yeah. So you're able to set up a fire. You're able to like you've got like sleeping bags. You sleep around the fire, and you have some food. You wake up in the morning. Can you roll me a medicine check?
Let's see, 13 plus 1, 14.
Okay. So you see, like, as you wake up, the fire has died down a little bit. One of the other dwarves that you were with, um, he seems to be like shivering. He's very pale, and you're thinking that he might be sick. He's not dead, but he's not doing too hot.
Did he eat this? Did he rest at all? Did he eat the same things that the rest of us ate?
Yep. So he ate all the same things you did. It just looks like he might be a little
Is this the
honestly.
same guy that was scared to go in
Yeah,
the tunnel?
yeah. It seems like he's not as hardy of a warrior as you and the other one. It looks like he might not have gotten as much rest as you guys.
Yeah, I don't think he slept much. Um, hmm. Well, we're not going to be able to drag. No. Um, what kind of weapons do the two warriors have?
Um, they've got some axes. They got some short swords. Trying to like kind of um
Just
carry light.
standard, yeah,
Yeah,
standard weaponry, light, light battle.
yeah.
Okay. Nope, we're gonna do this. So we're gonna pack out as much as we can and just leave some provisions in the initial area, just in case by chance somebody was to show up. And we're gonna pack out what we can carry and head into the tunnel up
Okay,
the stairs.
okay. So you start heading into the tunnel, and it's a much wider tunnel, and it's a good full day's journey. It feels like you're just walking in a straight line for the most part. Can you give me a survival check?
It's a 9, 5 plus 4.
Okay. You're figuring it should be heading straight for the mountains. You're not 100% sure, but could be. And at the end of like the full day's trek, you start making a turn, and you come to an opening. The weaker of the two soldiers is kind of limping at this point, but as you make this kind of corner, you see the cavern opens up, or this tunnel opens up, and it is one of the most marvelous things you probably have ever seen. It looks like this entire area is it's just all crystal. It seems to be like it doesn't even look like ice. It is clearer than ice. It looks like it's like solid diamond.
So there
Um,
must be some sort of light source lighting the room.
yeah, so there's a faint light source that's lighting the room, but that's all you need. It bounces off each other, like, and it looks like
Yeah.
there's all these like stalagmites and stalactites are just growing in this area, and it's all clear crystal. There does seem to be um, a path that kind of weaves around it. You figure that might be the best way to go through.
It can be very brittle. So we would take the path safest from what we can see.
Okay. Can you roll me a perception check?
23.
Okay. As after after about half an hour of walking through, you keep thinking that you see something just out of the corner of your eye, and you can't really make head or tail out of what you're seeing. It it takes a while for you to realize it looks like an eye, and originally you kind of thought it might have been like a reflection of your eye or one of the other people's eyes. But after you start noticing it, you can't stop noticing it, and eventually, like you look over your shoulder backwards, and every facet of every crystal seems to be looking directly at you,
Oh,
and it looks like something moves back, and you start to see some very light, kind of crystalline scales before the eye just kind of vanishes from the reflections.
the mere House of Horrors.
Pretty much.
Uh, Looking around, what path does the path just continue on a single way, or is
Yeah.
there and yeah, so it's just a single path to avoid anything else. Um, so I will face the back where I have seen it. I will get the healthier warrior to face the front, and I will put the weaker warrior in the middle, kind of a back two scenario,
Okay.
and continue walking.
Okay. Um. So you're walking at like a slower rate.
Yes.
Yeah. Um. You both like everybody has their weapons drawn, and you don't see the eyes for a while. Um. But as you start getting like you are to the point now where the other person like tells you like, "Hey, boss, up there," and he points, and it seems to be an opening at the end of this crystal area. Um, and as he points out to it, like points it out, and you look over, you look back, and you see the eyes, but they're no longer a reflection. It looks like there's an actual creature making its way towards you now.
Mhm.
Yeah. What would you like to do? It looks to be like you can't quite make it out. It almost looks like some kind of like lizard like cat thing, and it's running towards you.
Speechless. Uh, um, I look around at what kind of stalagmites and stalactites and diamond structures are kind of hanging around, and I would use them to our advantage, knowing we're not going to be able to get out the exit before this creature would be upon us.
Okay. Um, you're you're able to like you basically get to a point where if you were to sprint, you think you could probably get to the opening, like the exit, before the thing gets to you.
Does
But
it
you
look like the thing would be able to fit out the exit
um
in relation to the like body size versus hole?
uh roll me in nature.
Oh, so close. That's a 6.
Okay. You're thinking maybe you're not 100% sure. It does look like there's like an archway. It could get caught. You're not sure. You can't really gauge the size of it at the moment.
Okay. Well, I would get us to get off into a dead sprint with me at the back. And as I'm running, I'm swinging my weapons and knocking whatever I can down behind me. Like I'm running through an alley, throwing garbage cans, stuff right into the middle, trying
Okay.
to create any kind of hazard to slow the beast down.
Okay. Um. So the beast is like kind of jumping. It is slowing it down. It's like jumping on top of the stuff that you're uh, pulling down. Um. You and the healthy dwarf are able to escape, but the one that was sick, he's not like he's sick. He didn't really sleep. He wasn't able to get out in time, so the beast seems to jump and pounce on him. And this you get to see the beast for the first time. It's like a large, hulking beast. And it seems to have like look like a panther almost, but its fur is all white and it has two tendrils that come off of its back and end in like two crystalline bulbs, and they seem to be the source of light in this room. So at the moment, you have a choice. You can keep running, or you can run back for the guy who had the creature pounce on him. I know I'm putting you in a hard moral dilemma here.
Going to keep running, me and the healthy soldier.
Okay. So you're able to make it out, and after a couple of minutes, like you hear the other guy shouting and like screaming in pain, and that stops, and then you hear a crash, like the beast was trying to escape the way you did, and it isn't able to fit. So the two of you are running, and you're running for a good like half hour. You can't, after about 15 minutes of that half hour, you stop hearing anything, and eventually you come to a set of stairs that seem like there's the tunnel, and then like this looks like it's almost like an offshoot, and it goes up to what looks like an obvious worked door. And if you look at your map, it seems to line up with what one of the temples could be. So you can continue running, or you can go into the temple.
Seek sanctuary.
Okay. So,
Hopefully.
so you run into the temple, and like you close the door. You close the door behind you, and it does look like it almost looks like a church, like a one-room church almost. There's pews and there's a podium, like a pulpit at the very end of it, and there seems to be something on the pulpit. It looks to be like a very large crystal, but it seems to be shaped into something. You're not quite sure from right here what it could be. You'd have to get closer to it.
I will go up and investigate that and get the other warrior to investigate the other area.
Okay. So the other warrior, he looks around and he's going, but you go up to the pulpit and you see the crystal is shaped into a helmet. And the helmet seems to have like these crystal, almost look like antlers or horns. It's a very well sculpted um, helmet, and it seems to be made of the same clear crystal as the other room. So it's a very clear, very like diamond-esque helmet.
Do I see any kind of religious paraphernalia, markings, or anything within this temple?
Royal religion.
Oh, that is natural. Wow.
You're you can't read anything in this room, so you're not sure at all what any of it is at all.
No, that's good.
um, but it seems like there's a free helmet there, so that's cool.
Does it look like the helmet's a shrine, or is it just look like it's been left on the pulpit?
Just looks like it's kind of been like left on the pulpit. Yeah, just like it's been left there.
I pick it up.
All right. So you grab it. And as you like pick it up, you can see different like you look into the different facets and you see reflection. Your crystal looks a little warped in the in like the reflections on the helm, and you pick it up. Are you going to put it on your head, or are you just kind of looking at it?
Well, I'm clearly gonna put it on my head now that I picked it up. I mean, it's beautiful.
So you put the helmet on your head, and as you do, you see the other person walks into the area, and you see he looks at you and he's shocked, and you see he's like running towards you, but it seems to be slowed down as you feel your body becomes numb. You're able to look down and you see that this crystal has grown around your feet, up your arms, and it's very quickly encasing you in this crystal, and has, after about a minute or so, by the time he reaches you, you are basically just your face is uncovered by this almost kind of growing crystal. You're able to get one word out to him before you are fully covered. What would you like to say?
First thing that comes to mind is run.
That's fair. That's fair. So you look at him and you say, "Run," and it covers your face, and in your sight just kind of fades. And that's where we're going to end it for today. I'm going to explain later where it will lead you, but that's where we're going to end for today. You are encased in the crystal.
It's the first one word thing that I wanted to say. I wanted to say fly, you fools.
Fly, you fools! Fly, you fools! Well, yeah, we'll retcon and say that's what you say. You're like, hey, get away. Uh, but yeah, that's
Oh
pretty.
my God.
Did you have a good time?
Oh yeah. I'm like, is this helmet magical? Yeah, not the good magic.